that question too, Cindy.
I wish I could say yes. I know, I wish I could say yes. No. TJ.
Yeah, sure. Hold on.
She did?
Oh, no. Mine's very.
TJ.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
I totally understand.
I should never play poker. I can't.
I saw you at the water meeting. At the church, yes. Yeah. Yeah, I saw you when I got up to the microphone, I saw you.
Good evening. I'd like to call the October Common Council meeting to order. We have Councilperson Hession Weiss with a special introduction for the pledge this evening.
Good evening, Madam President. I would like to introduce a couple of people this evening, Jalen Woodson and Lynn Hastings, who were delegates to the Boys and Girls Conventions in Indianapolis. And because we are very big on encouraging young people to become involved, I wanted them to come tonight to lead the pledge. So if Jalen and Lynn would come forward. The mayor has something for you.
We want to lead the pledge first, then we'll
Okay.
why don't you lead the pledge first, and then we'll give them to you.
Would everyone please rise?
There's the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll give you real quick. So, thank you for being here, and Eileen, thank you for helping arrange this. On behalf of the city of Lafayette, the city council, and our clerk, Cindy Murray, we'd like to give you both one of our city pins to commemorate today, and also say thank you for getting involved. Thank you for doing those extra things. As Eileen said, we want to encourage young people to get involved, and so we really appreciate what you're doing and all the hard work that you're putting into it. And there's a little information on there about our city flag. Cindy, along with our Mayor's Youth Council, helped get that designed. And so on behalf of the city, just a small token of our gratitude and appreciation for your hard work, and we wish you best of luck in the future.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Madam Clerk, would you please conduct the roll call?
Hi, right here.
Present.
Reynolds?
President. Switch.
Present. Brown? Here. Williamson? Here. Downing?
Present.
Allersmeyer?
Here.
Four present.
Thank you. First up is the approval of the minutes. Mr. Clinker?
I moved we adjourn for the, you say for the minutes? I'm sorry, approve the minutes, sorry, you surprised me. I was still laughing about the ayes, so, yeah, if we,
Second.
yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
Any comments or concerns about the minutes as communicated from council?
None.
All those in favor of the approval of the minutes as communicated signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Presentation and disposal of claims?
There are none.
Presentation of petitions and communications?
There are none.
Reports of city offices on file in the clerk's office.
Waterworks Department monthly August, Renew Department monthly August, Fleet Maintenance monthly August.
And you can read those online if you're interested in viewing those reports. Ordinances for second reading this evening. We begin with ordinance 2023-33.
An ordinance concerning the construction of additions and improvements of the waterworks of the city of Lafayette, Indiana, and the issuance of revenue bonds.
Mr. Snyder?
Madam President, I move that we hear ordinance 2023-33.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you.
All right, very good. Yes, we are here on second reading for this ordinance today. What this ordinance does is will facilitate a $400,000 grant from the Indiana Finance Authority to the city of Lafayette that we will use to complete an investigation of lead service lines here in our community. There are about 7,000 service lines that we do not know what the material is made out of, and this grant funding will allow us to move forward with that investigation. And the grant, it is structured as a bond ordinance, but is structured as a forgivable loan. So the IFA will forgive the $400,000 on December 31st of this year.
Comments or questions from council?
Quick question. Is there a timetable on this grant? Does it expire at the end of the year?
As far as utilizing it,
Yeah,
no. I mean,
no.
we I know that our consultant Wessler has been working on the proposal in order to help us complete that investigation, but I do not know if it will be done by the end of the year or not. I'm looking for Steve Moore to see. Steve, do you happen to know is there a timeline on that yet? No. Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions from council? Comments from the audience over this ordinance? All right, Madam Clerk, would you please conduct a roll call vote?
Blinker,
Aye.
Nargi. Aye. Snyder,
Aye.
Reynolds,
Aye.
Weiss.
Aye.
Brown.
Aye.
Williamson. Aye. Downing.
Aye.
Ordinance passes 8-0.
Thank you. Next, for second reading, we have ordinance 2023-35.
An ordinance to amend the zoning ordinance of Tippecanoe County, Indiana to rezone certain real estate from NB to GB 1827 Schuyler Avenue, Gaeta Reynolds, petitioner.
Ms. Hession Weiss.
Move for consideration of ordinance number 2023-35 on second reading.
Mr. Brown.
Second.
And Ms. Chastain.
No, Mr. I believe I saw Mr. Schrader
Oh, is he here?
come
Oh.
in. There we go.
Good evening. My name is John Schrader from Boggelson, 201 Main Street. I am here on behalf of the petitioner, Gaeta Rentals Incorporated. This rezoning concerns 1827 Schuyler Avenue. It is a small triangle of property on Schuyler Avenue. Sorry about, okay.
Go ahead.
Okay. Located on it is a single building that consists of a small office and 2 garage bays. The building predates the modern zoning ordinance. It is currently a legal non-conforming structure. Given the small size of the lot and current setback requirements, it's unlikely a new structure could be built on that property. So the owners are kind of left with the building that's already there, which, given the 2 garage bays, is mostly conducive to automotive use. Beyond the rezoning itself, the question before the city council tonight is whether they want some good economic use to be made out of this property, or they want it to continue to be vacant. The property's been vacant for certainly the 3 years since the Gaetas have purchased it. I've heard varying answers of how long before that. It was vacant when they bought it. I've heard varying answers of how long before that it continued to be vacant. I believe it to be about another 5 years or so past that, so about 8 years in total that this property has remained empty. It is currently zoned in B. That is a product of the 2005 St. Lawrence McAllister plan. I understand that when that plan was made, it was with the input of the community, and there was a respectable optimism that for that plan, and that the neighborhood could consist of residential and neighborhood business uses. 18 years on, for at least 1827 Schuyler Avenue, that has resulted in this property remaining fallow. And the optimism that existed 18 years ago, I believe, is now wishful thinking. I don't think you need to be a fortune teller to say that if this is denied and if it remains neighborhood business, it will likely remain empty for the foreseeable future. Myself and my clients met with some concerned neighbors this past Thursday. I understand many of them are here tonight. They circulated a letter ahead of this meeting listing off some of their concerns, that the general business zoning would allow this to be used for smoke shops, vape shops, adult bookstores, massage parlors, laundry cleaning, etc. For all those listed uses, in between that meeting and tonight, I have taken those off of the table. I have drafted a commitment that has been signed by my client, who's the owner, and turned over to the city clerk. The current rezoning is now limited to only automotive services in the general business zoning and uses otherwise allowed under the neighborhood business zoning. I understand that the neighbors still have concerns about automotive repair services, and I'm sure they will come up and voice those, but my clients are committed to the St. Lawrence McAllister neighborhood. They want this rezoning to allow them to make some good economic use of this area, but otherwise be the least intrusive way of possible into the neighborhood and to make sure it stays that way into the future. The commitment will be binding. It will transfer with the property. Future owners will not be able to get around it. The only way to get around a commitment is to go through the rezoning process from the beginning. In conclusion, I'm here tonight to request a limited rezone from neighborhood business to general business that will allow this property to, for general businesses, only be allowed for the Group 75 automotive repair services uses. This property has been empty for at least, certainly 3 years, I believe at least 8, which I think is long enough. And for these reasons, I respectfully ask the city council to approve the rezoning petition. Thank you. Any questions?
I have a question.
Yeah.
So if this goes through, they could use the automotive repair and any neighborhood.
Any neighborhood business.
Any neighborhood business.
Yes, the wording.
It's just not restricted to that only.
Not restricted to that only. The way I worded the commitment is that it can be used for any use allowable under the neighborhood business zoning, and then the automotive repair services group in the general business zone only. All other general
That's the
business.
only exception. Otherwise,
Other,
it will
it's
all be
neighborhood business. Yes.
I also have a question.
Yes.
I think at the Area Plan Commission, I asked you if we could, if the neighbors would agree to an 8 to 5 open to close, and that was not brought up. That was directly at you at the APC, and you thought that there could be something worked out, and I think there was discussion 8 to 5:30, something like that, to cut down the noise for those residents if they accepted it. But again, you know, this is the second time around in 2 years, and we've got resistance. The Area Plan Commission, even though the vote was this time, it's denied by the staff. They don't recommend it because of the size of the lot. And so they have rejected it twice also, so.
Yes, and to be clear, the way our zoning process works is the APC does not deny per se, they recommend denial. This was approved by the APC. So I, in spite of a recommendation of denial from the staff, this petition is before you with an approval from the APC. And I do have to make
the. I did vote against the APC.
Yes, and I understand that.
Okay, and that's why I asked the hours.
Yes. And with respect to the hours, unfortunately, I'm in the place where I'm always fighting my last battle. When I rewrote a new commitment at the end of last week, I wrote it with the concerns voiced by the neighbors at that Thursday morning meeting in mind. And at that meeting, hours of operation did not come up. So no, this would not have any restrictions on hours of operation if approved.
Have the neighbors been made aware of the drafted commitment?
Because this was submitted on Friday, the short time frame, no, I did not contact the neighbors ahead of time. At the end of the Thursday morning meeting, I did state my intention to create a new commitment before the meeting tonight, but no, I did not, give any update to confirm that had been done prior to just now.
Mr. Schrader, when you met with the neighbors, were they in agreement with all of the things that you had promised you would do?
So there were a number of neighbors, and it's, agreement by committee can be fraught sometimes.
It is, yes.
There was the idea that I would commit to more restrictive commitments was welcome. There were, serious concerns about all the things that general business could allow. And when I stated that we would restrict it to kind of just the specific one, the specific group my client have in mind, kind of automotive repairs, that was received positively. There were still people at that meeting, I believe some of them are here tonight, who do have concerns about automotive services being used in their neighborhood.
And when you're talking automotive, you're talking just cars? Because at one time, that was Buzz and Weasel's motorcycle shop, and it run 24 hours a day. And I know our department spent many hours there, so did the police department. And there was also, because of that, being jammed up in that area, we had a fatal accident at 19th and Schuyler at that intersection. And it was, just because it is kind of congested in there, it was a lot because of the traffic that was in that lot. So I'm very familiar with it, so.
Just automotives or automobiles or motorcycles?
My guess would be it would also allow servicing motorcycles. The guidas work more with traditional automobiles. That's kind of what all of our conversations center around. That is what they have in mind. But I have to be honest, I'm not familiar enough with the SIC groups within the permitted use table of the Uniform Zoning Ordinance to know if it makes that distinction. My guess is it doesn't.
It doesn't.
Any other questions from council?
If the time limitations were in there, would that make it more palatable to you?
I didn't
Council?
run that by the neighbors, but I don't think it would. That was a suggestion I made at the Area Plan Commission meeting, and I don't remember exactly what your response was. I thought you said it may be possible, but I don't know that that was a positive answer, you know.
Thank you.
I guess I'm not sure if comparing them to a motorcycle, comparing what they want to do to a motorcycle shop is really valid, because that's not what they're going to do.
Well, you said they were.
It's my understanding that they will be doing auto detail. That has to be under auto repair, which is not something that you're going to be doing, that you're going to have people running in and out of there all night to do. I figure if not 8 to 5, 8 to 7, something like that. That's the best that's going to happen there, and I don't see a lot of traffic on that piece of land. It is too small for that. It is too small for that.
Any other comments or questions from council? Thank you, Mr. Schrader. We'll open the floor to public comment. Please remember to state your name and address and keep your remarks to 3 minutes.
Hello, my name is Laura Bartram, and I'm the past president of the Neighborhood Association in St. Lawrence McAllister. So I handed out earlier some maps of our neighborhood, and as you can see, the one that shows just our neighborhood, I mean, the map from the APC kind of shows 3/4 of Monon and then a little bit of us, okay? So that's not quite how it goes. So the map that I have for you shows a little bit of business in an awful lot of neighborhoods, and neighbors going from R1 to R2 and a few R3s. The few general businesses that we have are over on the corner by 52 and Schuyler is the main one, and that's the Galletas and all of that. They bought the K-Motion Racing, and that's where they do their detailing. So for them to say they want to take this tiny little piece of land and do detailing there, or just putting it under automotive, they could do repairs there, they could do motorcycles there, because it's an it's an auto, you know, it's a motorized vehicle, so they could, if we have this rezone. Oh, and if it's not clear, the neighborhood doesn't want the rezone, just to put that out there. But if you look at this map, we have held the line on Schuyler Avenue with our neighborhood association. When you come in on Schuyler, there's an awful lot on the Monon side. They got the Monon shops. They've got all of those businesses. But when you look left, you see a neighborhood. And we've got people that have spent their entire lives in their homes. We've got people that 2 doors down from what used to be the weathered plow that is now the palm reading person. I went and was knocking on door and handing out flyers, and they've got a brand new baby. And so we've got affordable homes throughout the neighborhood, and we want to keep it neighborhood. Okay, I just don't know how much more plain. When I was president of the neighborhood association, it was a big decision because we didn't want to put a kibosh on businesses in the neighborhood. We totally love our florist neighborhood business. We totally, you know, I will buy my lottery ticket tonight from the Friendly Market neighborhood business. So it's not like there aren't other neighborhood business things that can go in there. Now, I've learned an awful lot about let me know how close I get on time. I've learned an awful lot about zoning, and I really think it would be a good thing for them if they went and asked for neighborhood business urban, because then they would have lots less setbacks and they might have more opportunity. But when he says it hasn't been a business, if you were to Google this address, it comes up with the business address there. It comes up with Diesel Enterprises for the last, since 2014, I think. All I did was Google it and see what it came up with. So I don't know how they didn't pick up on that, but it's been a business up until they paid their taxes as diesel business just this last year, Diesel Enterprises, I think it was. So, since 2014. So
And that was a battery place in there, a diesel, wasn't it? When that
Diesel
was-
Enterprises, I tried to Google it
Yeah,
and
I
it
think
said
it-
something
I think
about
that was a
helping
battery.
people.
That's when we had the battery.
Helping people get permits,
Mm-hmm.
diesel permits. And I'm like, well, they've had, a business there. If you Google it, that's what comes up. Now, I do have letters from neighbors. I don't know if they'll get into my time or not, but I gave you 3, and so do I read those in or just giving them to you as a cut?
My understanding is that making sure we all had them was effective.
Okay, well, one came in as we were coming here tonight, so I will read hers. This is Karen Mahoney. I live in the north end, close to the area in question. I do not want another car lot in this area. This area already has 3 to 4 small car lots. By not having a guarantee that this property, southwest corner of 19th Schuyler, will not be turned into a car lot is not acceptable. I did not have time to reply to her about the change, but she does not want a general business district in this area, since some of the businesses that can be allowed is not acceptable. This corridor has become very busy in recent history. It should look more welcoming and green rather than be adorned with more cars just scattered about for sale or to be worked on so that they can be put up for sale. And she is Karen Mahoney on 2340 North 20th Street. And I believe the other letters that you received in my little packet also would like you to deny this request. Yes, ma'am.
Could I ask you a
Yes.
question? On your map here?
Yeah.
On the, I guess it would be the northwest corner of 19th.
Uh-huh.
What is there currently
Northwest corner of 19th.
at Schuyler?
Oh, that's the Friendly Market.
Okay.
Buy your lottery ticket there.
And how about the 18th and,
18th neighborhood business?
neighbor, NBU?
That's Lefties. Is it Lefties still? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We wholeheartedly support our adult beverage people and our churches.
Interesting.
Yeah?
Okay. All right, thank you.
Well, sure.
Give about 30 seconds.
Anybody
I have a
else?
question.
Yes.
Did you have an opportunity to have a neighborhood association meeting?
We have not. This has kind of brought us back together. We've got someone who is going to want to be the president. She's out of town tonight for this next week. But so if one thing comes good out of that, we've got it back together again, and everybody that I sent flyers to is very interested. One thing that I will say, I don't have time.
You're answering the question.
Oh, okay. One thing that I would say is I was at the same meeting as the petitioner's lawyer, and I don't remember anybody saying that I remember leaving that meeting saying, we will support anything neighborhood business. And the automobile acquiescence to that, or whatever you would call that, I just don't think still fits in that small lot with the general business setbacks and all of that, and the people right behind and the neighbors. I mean, it's like, right there, kids playing in the street. I just don't understand how it got this far. So, any other questions?
Just one.
Yes.
Did you read the new commitment?
I did read the new commitment, and if it hadn't said the word automotive and it had said neighborhood business, I'd be all behind them. And that's what I left that neighborhood meeting saying, or that meeting saying.
That's not the impression I had, but never mind.
But yeah, so,
Thank you very much.
well, you're welcome.
Members of the council, thank you for allowing us to speak today. My name is Joshua Rodriguez, and as required, my address is 1914 Maple Street in Lafayette, Indiana. My wife and I are resident of the St. Louis McAllister neighborhood, speaking on for the approval of ordinance number 2023-35, rezoning from a neighborhood business to a general business. Excuse me, it's been a while since public speaking. My wife and I moved from Chicago to Lafayette in January of 2020 so I could pursue a degree in nuclear engineering from Purdue University. As you can imagine, that would be one of the worst times to start in a new city, just as everything closes down due to the pandemic. We got just a 2-month taste of Lafayette before the temporary shutdown, and unfortunately for too many businesses here, that shutdown was permanent. As the shutdown lifted, we began to finally experience all the beautiful things the city has to offer and decided to settle down here. We purchased our first home just off of 19th Street and have since done lots of work to modernize and update our old house. It's not much, but it's ours, and that's the first time my wife and I can say something like that. We truly integrated ourselves into the community, adopting practices the city encourages, like installing rain barrels to help with storm drain usage. And as I fumble about as a pretend handyman, we've heavily relied on local businesses such as Home Care and Repair to reframe rotting wood, or Artisan Electric to completely update an aging electrical system. It wasn't until moving to a smaller city that I began to understand the importance of small businesses and how especially important they are to ensure competitive practices that lower consumer spending in this type of environment. This is why I'm so surprised when I received a leaflet a few weeks back opposing the rezoning of the lot at 1827 Schuyler Avenue. I became invested, as my wife and I are in this neighborhood, and headed over to the property in question. A quick internet search also led me to see that this property has also previously been denied a GB rezone so it could go into some type of automotive-related business. I have to say, as a member of this community, I'm a bit concerned that we are denying business investment opportunities. If any of you have gone over and looked at the property itself, it's an auto repair shop. It's got 2 garage doors on it, a small lot to put other cars while they're waiting to be repaired or waiting to someone to come pick it up. I just don't see what the problem is there. And looking at that building, it's pretty obvious. So any of the usages for things like adult bookstores or massage parlors seems a bit egregious. In light of the new zoning and the petition that's been put forward by previous lawyer, I don't see what the issue is. Again, my major concern now is what happens to this building and this lot that's been set up for a specialized business and that's had its rezoning denied twice. Do we think that any other investors would be interested in the property considering what 20 seconds on Google reveals? Who would want to risk an investment and touch the property in the future? If we do not seize the opportunity for investment, this building will end up just empty and unused and probably fall victim to graffiti, something that's had to be covered up in the back of my garage as well. We know it's an issue in the community. It's in my sincere hope that the city votes to rezone the property and does not condemn it to forever become an abandoned lot. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Other public comment this evening? Okay. Madam Clerk, would you please conduct a roll call vote over ordinance 2023-35?
Blinker,
No.
Nardi,
No.
Snyder,
Aye.
Reynolds,
No.
Weiss. Aye. Brown,
Aye.
Williamson,
Aye.
Downing.
Aye.
Ordinance passes 5-3.
All right.
I do just want to clarify, because that commitment that was sent on Friday was not part of it. That rezone is subject to the revised commitment that Mr. Schrader sent forward.
So the commitment will be with that
The
property.
commitment will be with the property.
And the commitment is specific to strictly the detailing, the automobile?
Specific
just
to-
automotive.
Specific to the uses related to auto repairs and such? And that will carry with the property in
It does.
perpetuity?
It does.
But the voter, we should know, that does allow them to do automotive work there.
And
They can
motorcycles.
repair Vehicles, they can do automotive work.
Yeah, anything they want
It's
there.
not big enough to be an auto sales lot.
Auto sales is a different category, which wouldn't be permitted under the commitment.
Okay. All right.
And for those of you in the audience who don't know, that commitment stays with the property forever until they come to request a rezone, removal of that commitment or a rezone. And as the lawyer had stated, that commitment is allowing neighborhood business as it does now and only automotive repair under general business. I just want to make sure that's clear to everybody. Okay. All right, thank you. Moving on to ordinance 2023-37.
An ordinance amending subsection 302.10 of Lafayette Municipal Code, section 13.03.010, removal of graffiti.
Thank you, Mrs. Williamson.
I move we hear and approve ordinance 2023-37 on final reading.
Mr. Downing?
Second.
Thank you.
All right, this is a cleanup ordinance. Mainly what it does is when we originally adopted the graffiti abatement ordinance, the police department was in charge of initial notifications and following up with property owners. That function has been turned over to our code enforcement officers who are familiar with enforcing our code. And so this ordinance just cleans up that language and replaces references from the police department to the engineering department.
Thank you, Ms. Chosnick. Questions from council? Comment from the audience over this ordinance? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, would you conduct a roll call vote?
Blinker.
Aye.
Nargi. Aye. Snyder.
Aye.
Reynolds.
Aye.
Weeze.
Aye.
Brown.
Aye.
Williamson.
Aye.
Downing.
Aye.
Ordinance passes 8-0.
Thank you. Next ordinance for second reading is ordinance 2023-38.
An ordinance amending fees that the city of Lafayette may charge for computer reports, accident reports, VIN checks, law enforcement recording, and other miscellaneous copies.
Thank you, Mr. Clinker.
Move we hear ordinance 2023-38 on second and final reading.
Ms.
Second.
Thank you.
All right, this ordinance is a result of cleaning up our fees ordinance after some legislative changes last year. The only fee that is being modified under this ordinance is the fee charged for law enforcement recordings. Under state law, we can charge up to $150 per recording based on the actual time to view, redact, and do all the administrative functions that need to be done before that can be released. So the new fees are a structure based on length of time that was calculated based on the current pay rate for the employee in charge of both the redaction and the captain who is in charge of conducting the review to make sure everything has been obscured.
Thank you, Ms. Chosnick's questions from council. Members of the audience wish to comment on this ordinance? Madam Clerk?
Blinker.
Aye.
Nargi.
Aye.
Snyder.
Aye.
Reynolds.
Aye.
Weeze.
Aye.
Brown.
Aye.
Williamson.
Aye.
Downing.
Aye.
Ordinance passes 8-0.
Thank you. Next ordinance is 2023-39.
An amendment to the ordinance number 2010-11 establishing a local Centennial South 820 Ferry Street Historic District in the city of Lafayette, Indiana.
Thank you, Mr. Snyder.
Madam President, I move that we hear ordinance 2023-39.
Second.
Thank you. Mr. Carson?
Yes, good evening. Dennis Carson, Economic Development Director. This ordinance and the following four are the second readings to establish these new local historic districts. These are all brought forward by the property owners themselves, and they're all voluntary. So if you have any questions on any of these, I'd be happy to answer them.
Comments or questions over this particular property and ordinance? Members of the audience? Madam Clerk, would you please conduct a roll call vote over 2023-39?
Blinker.
Aye.
Nargi.
Aye.
Snyder.
Aye.
Reynolds.
Aye.
Aye.
Weeze. Brown.
Aye.
Williamson. Downing. Ordinance passes 8-0.
Aye.
Did you say aye? I thought you did. You guys were all at the same time.
Sounds like it.
Diversity's good.
The next ordinance is 2023-40.
An amendment to the ordinance 2010-11 establishing a local Jefferson 413 North 11th Street Historic District in the city of Lafayette, Indiana.
Ms. Hession-Weiss?
Move for consideration of ordinance 2023-40 on second reading.
Mr. Brown?
Second.
Does anybody have any questions of Mr. Carson over this particular property and historic, being made by a local historic district? Members of the audience have any comments? All right, Madam Clerk, would you please conduct a roll call vote?
Blinker.
Aye.
Nargi. Aye. Snyder.
Aye.
Reynolds.
Aye.
Weeze.
Aye.
Brown.
Aye.
Williamson.
Aye.
Downing.
Aye.
Ordinance passes 8-0.
The next ordinance for the same purpose is ordinance 2023-41.
An amendment to ordinance 2010-11 establishing a local Parent South 221 Parent Avenue Historic District in the city of Lafayette, Indiana.
Mrs. Williamson?
I move we hear and approve ordinance 2023-41.
Second.
Thank you. Questions for Mr. Carson about this ordinance or property? Members of the audience? Okay, Madam Clerk, would you conduct a roll call vote?
Blinker.
Aye.
Nargi. Aye. Snyder.
Aye.
Reynolds.
Aye.
Weeze.
Aye.
Brown.
Aye.
Williamson.
Aye.
Downing.
Aye.
Ordinance passes 8-0.
The next ordinance is 2023-42.
An amendment to ordinance number 2010-11 establishing a local Lincoln 1006 Hartford Street Historic District in the city of Lafayette, Indiana.
Mr. Clinker.
Move we hear ordinance 2023-42 on second and final reading.
Second.
Thank you. Questions from council over this property? Members of the audience? Madam Clerk, would you conduct a roll call vote, please?
Blinker.
Aye.
Nargi.
Aye.
Snyder.
Aye.
Reynolds.
Aye.
Weiss.
Aye.
Brown.
Aye.
Williamson.
Aye.
Downing.
Aye.
Ordinance passes 8-0.
And the final property, ordinance 2023-43.
An amendment, I guess I can. An amendment to ordinance number 2010-11 establishing a local Lincoln 120 Tippecanoe Street Historic District in the city of Lafayette, Indiana.
Mr. Snyder.
Madam President, I move that we hear 2023-11.
Second.
Any questions from council over this property?
Just one.
Should be 43.
I guess I should ask somebody from redevelopment maybe, that, how long will it be before we start linking these together into larger historic districts?
Well, it depends on the adjoining property owner. So these are all brought forth by single site ones. So these are brought forth from the property owners themselves. So maybe in the future, their adjoining property owners will want to join in as well too, and we can have the whole district.
Okay, just checking.
Sure.
Mr. Snyder, did you have a clarification?
Yeah, the ordinance 2023-43 is what's, is that correct? Okay, thank you.
Did we misspeak?
I misspoke, so I make a motion to
You were
hear
supposed to
ordinance
move, you didn't even catch it.
2023-43.
So noted.
Sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Carson. Any other questions from council over this property? Members of the audience have any comment? Madam Clerk, would you please conduct a roll call vote?
Blinker.
Aye.
Nargi.
Aye.
Snyder.
Aye.
Reynolds.
Aye.
Weiss.
Aye.
Brown.
Aye.
Williamson.
Aye.
Downing.
Aye.
Ordinance passes 8-0.
That concludes the ordinances for second reading this evening. We begin on ordinance for first readings with ordinance 2023-44.
2024 GLPTC budget, an ordinance appropriating money for the Greater Lafayette Public Transportation Corporation is required pursuant to Indiana Code 6-1.1-17-20.
Thank you, Ms. Hession-Weiss.
I move for consideration of ordinance number 2023-44 on first reading.
Mr. Brown?
Second.
Thank you. Welcome.
Good evening, Madam President, Mrs. Clerk. My name is Joanne Zhang, CFO of City Bus. I'm here on behalf of City Bus and also our CEO, Brian Smith, to present the next year budget number. Our chairperson of the board, Julie Jin, is also present. So, Your Honors, before I start to talk about 2024 numbers, I will briefly report 2023 performance. This year, City Bus, it is a successful year. We are able to recruit and return operators, restore the service level to pre-pandemic level. So our ridership is back to the 2019 level. Particularly for non-Purdue ridership, it's exceeded. We also applied for a no-emission federal grant, and we are awarded with $7.5 million. With that, we are going to have the first batch of hydrogen-powered bus in the state.
Wow.
Internally, we're also taking actions to improve management excellence and compliance. In 2024, we will be focusing on revenue side. So next, I'm going to talk about the numbers for 2024 budget. You probably have the table with you. In summary, 2024 budget total number has increased by 13% versus 2023 budget, which we expect to meet according to year-to-date spending. The budget contains three categories: personnel cost, commodities, and services. Among the three categories, the personnel cost is the major driver of the budget increase, while we keep the other two categories at a similar level to last year. The personnel cost increase is due to our recruitment and retention effort for drivers. At the end of last year, in order to recruit enough drivers to provide service, we increased entry-level wage from $17 to $20 and shortened the wage progression time range. So that effort has been successful. Since then, we were able to gradually recruit enough drivers to the level we need. The combination of the wage increase and the headcount increase is causing 23% increase on operator wage, which is significant. We recognize that. Other personnel expenditures are related to the wage increase, which are in control. So any questions?
Questions from council?
The workman's comp went up substantially. Is that because of the new employees that you've hired plus the wage going up?
Yeah, there are 3 drivers for workers' comp cost. One is their rate, the insurance rate,
Okay.
which is increased slightly. The major driver is the personnel, the headcount.
Okay, and then what is the contractual services for administration?
The contractual services include many parts. For example, we use software for services. They're all in the contractual service. Microsoft subscription is in this as well. In this category, if you notice the $150,000 increase, that's mostly because one item we budgeted for analysis of route. So in this year, we are planning to conduct analysis for the route, which is very important to the service.
Do you have software for that, or is that done by a company?
We will use a contractor, which is still to be determined. We'll do a RFP for that.
And how many of your hydrogen buses will you have?
We will, under this grant, we are able to buy 3 hydrogen buses and also a filling station. And this filling station will be the first in the state, too.
Wonderful. We like being first.
Thank you.
I have a question. Do you anticipate any, I guess, expansion of routes? Because I'll tell you what I tell City Bus every year when they come here. This will not be a grown-up city until people who work 11 to 7 can ride the bus back and forth to work. So I'm hoping you guys will get there.
Sir, actually, that's the goal. With the planned analysis on the route, we will look into the needs from our communities. And if the analysis result that we need to provide more service, we will try to get there.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Yep.
Last year, you brought up ride share that you guys were starting, which was supposed to be people that work certain shifts that they were going to shuttle around. And is that in operation, or is it still, I don't remember all the details.
Talking about the van share.
Van
Oh,
share.
yes.
Yeah.
Well, there's another good news. Yeah, we actually allocate money for the van pool program. And we went out, we did RFP, Enterprise won the service. So we are in plan to set up, to start this service.
Okay, because you do have a bus, so is that right?
We will be using Enterprise
They're
contracted
going to
bus.
use enterprise contracts, they're going to be vans.
Okay,
So
all
they're
right.
not great big buses, because they're going to go to a lot of multiple locations, so.
Okay.
they'll
Yep.
be
I remember
vans.
that brought up, but I didn't know
It's
exactly.
going to be a
Okay.
good program.
Yeah, it looks like it. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
How will people sign up for that?
We have several employers already expressed interest, and one nonprofit, Lilly Foundation, already committed for a sponsorship.
Oh, great. Any other questions from council?
I would request as what you think about as you start to do the van share is that sometimes people are informed during their shift that they have to work overtime. So there would need to be some flexibility.
Yes, there will be, actually, it's currently under plan. There
Okay.
will be languages about, how many rides you can have outside of the routine rides,
Okay.
and at a cost, minimal cost.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Comments or questions from the audience over this ordinance? All right, Madam Clerk, would you please conduct a roll call vote?
Blinker.
Aye.
Nargi. Aye. Snyder.
Aye.
Reynolds.
Aye.
Weiss.
Aye.
Brown.
Aye.
Williamson. Aye. Downey.
Aye.
Ordinance passes 8-0.
Thank you so much. Our next ordinance for first reading is ordinance 2023-45.
The 2024 budget ordinance and ordinance appropriating money for the purpose of defraying the expenses of several departments of the city government of the city of Lafayette, Indiana for the fiscal year beginning January 1, 2024 and ending December 31st, 2024, including the outstanding claims and obligations and fixing a time when the same shall take effect.
Thank you, Mrs. Williamson.
Now taking a breath.
That's all that running.
Here to approve ordinance 2023-45. Mr. Downs?
Mr. Mayor.
Madam President, yeah, that was so fast. I'm hoping I'm up here for the right thing.
As you're getting quicker at it.
Yeah, quicker. I'm not going to be able to talk that fast, and you guys know what I'm talking about. That's government efficiency there. So, thank you, Madam Clerk. Madam President, ladies and gentlemen of the council, we have before you the 2024 budget for the Civil City budget for the city of Lafayette. I'd first of all like to thank Jeremy Deal and Jenna and their whole team for their work on the budget and working on the audit at the same exact time and all the other daily responsibilities that they've had. They have done a tremendous job getting this budget together and doing it in a very professional and efficient manner. I'd also like to thank the department heads who come to those meetings with Jeremy and myself well organized and prepared. They come with a financially responsible attitude while also thinking ahead and thinking forward, and we appreciate that because we're always looking to the future also. So I do want to just thank everyone for their efforts. This is no small task anymore, and I want to thank them for the efforts. I also want to give a second shout out to Jeremy. I kind of feel like I'm not going to have to talk quite as long this year. He put out a very comprehensive overview to all of you and the department heads of the budget, and I'm going to try not to be redundant on some of that because certainly you can look at that, but he did a very good job getting that, and with enough time, I'm sure all of you have had a chance to read and review that. So a little bit to recap on the budget process itself. I think it's important for you and for the community to hear how we do that. As you know, we go back to square one every year, and we do zero-based budgeting. We just don't look at what we spent last year and start adding a percentage to it, right? We don't do that. We go back basically to zero, and we do an exhaustive analysis of many years of spending and different factors that can affect that type of spending, and we begin to formulate the numbers for the next year moving forward. We also, after we kind of take a look at it, we begin meeting with each department head to look at what they are thinking about as far as personnel, new positions, reclassifications, equipment needs, and all those things to provide services. After we do that, we go back and then reanalyze kind of what our initial findings were to see how that lines up with department head requests and overall city priorities from when you look at our capital improvement plans, our water plan, our 5-year parks master plan, our long-term control plan and CSO through Renew. Because as I'll talk in the back, that all comes together, right? You've got to bring all the pieces of all those departments and all those budgets together when you're working through this process. So we do that. We do calculations on fees and taxes and revenues. We look at the growth quotient. As you know, in Indiana, the growth quotient is the 6-year average of wages, excluding farm income. But this year, we had an artificial cap. I just want to make sure that you're aware of that. The growth quotient probably would have been in the 6% range, but the state capped it at 4% for this year and next year to try to keep costs down. And so that's something that we've had to calculate in. Fortunately, we're very forward-thinking here and have a pro-growth policy. And so our revenues have been strong. Our assessed valuation, as you saw by the numbers in here, went up significantly. And that's a credit to this council, to the Board of Works, to the Redevelopment Commission, to the department heads, to the businesses we work with, every day that the community comes together and works in a way that allows for that type of growth. And so that helps, and it helps everybody. If you're trying to raise this much money and you got 1,000 people paying in it instead of just 800, everybody pays a little bit less, right? So it worked out well, and we really appreciate the efforts of everybody. We also have to look at things like electric, natural gas, our fuel cost, and all those different types of things that can drive those up. We also have to look at health care. We want to make sure that we keep our health care affordable. As most of you know, or maybe all of you know, we are part of the Accelerate Indiana Municipal Trust, better known as IACT in the old days. So we buy our health care insurance with about 52 other communities in Indiana now, and that pooling allows us to control cost and kind of the highs and lows that sometimes go along when you're on your own. And you have a good year, then you have a bad year, and so we're able to mitigate some of those highs and lows. And I can tell you, I'm very confident in saying it's saved us millions and millions of dollars over the years. Lafayette was one of the founding members. Actually, Lafayette and West Lafayette pooled one year. People saw it, said, hey, maybe the whole state could do this. And so we got together. We started out with 4 communities, and we're up to 50-some. I served as the president of the organization for several years. So all of that goes into consideration as we begin to put the budget together. We look at our projects then, and we also look at the maintenance issues that we might face in the upcoming year. As I indicated, we can't do that in a vacuum because the TIF projects that we do tie into some of the other civil city that we do. Projects that we do at Renew tie in. Projects that we do at water, wastewater. Sometimes a project has every component in it, right? And people working from all the different departments. Obviously, we plow snow together. Fleet maintenance works on vehicles for all the departments. And so it's an exhaustive, comprehensive process that leads us to where we are today in this presentation. Obviously, with all budgets, almost universally, personnel costs are always the #1 cost and the largest expenditure. But that's okay, because it's important that we retain and attract good people, keep good people, pay a wage that's fair and competitive in our community, provide good health care insurance, and provide other benefits. I'm also pleased to announce that in 2024, we'll also be implementing a clinic for our employees. So they'll be able to go to a clinic. We think that's a great benefit. I can tell you there is a lot of enthusiasm and excitement about being able to do that. That is free to city people that are on the city insurance and their families. No cost to them. We didn't, and just to be clear, we didn't take away any of the money that we were putting in their HSAs to help cover part of that cost. Nothing. This is a true benefit to our employees, and I think they're going to like it, save them some money, and there seems to be a lot of enthusiasm about that. A couple other things real quick, just to start to then actually go over the numbers. This year's budget is $89,230,891. Last year's budget was $83,182,067. That difference there is about just a little bit over $6 million between last year and this year. And of course, as we indicated, over $4 million of the $6 million is all related to personnel costs, wages, health insurance, the clinic, pensions, Social Security, Medicare, all the costs that are associated. So as typically, that's about that's 71% of that increase is personnel costs. That leaves about $1.7 million that's actually other costs that we've been looking at, which actually is, I think, again, it's very fiscally responsible when you look at the cost of everything almost that we're doing is going up. So we believe that this is a good budget that meets the goals and visions of our community. Obviously, we're totally invested in public safety and keeping this community safe and making sure that we properly fund our police and fire departments and other public safety initiatives. We want to provide outstanding city services, which I believe we do. We want to complete our projects. We want to also have the funds to buy equipment. Equipment's kind of an unusual thing right now. We didn't buy a ton of stuff last year because we just couldn't get the build slots for the tandems. There were no pickup trucks available, front-end loaders, backhoes, different things like that. So we really weren't able to buy a whole lot that we had put in the budget. But we just saved that money. We didn't spend it. We didn't find other uses for it. We actually just saved it. So we'll be able to purchase, because build slots are available now. So we'll be able to get some tandems, some pickup trucks. We'll be able to get some of those backhoes, front-end loaders that we need, and the money is there. And so we're going to be in good shape. We're going to be in good shape on that. Also, 2023 has been a good year for revenue. I always bring you a fairly conservative budget. I never cut it too close. We make sure that we have good cash balances in our operating funds. We make sure we have reserves, those types of things. But 23 was a better year than expected. Our department heads did great. So out of the 23 money, around the end of the year, the first of the year, we'll be moving at least $1 million, if not more, over to the rainy day fund. And so we're very pleased to be able to do that. I think it sends the right message to our taxpayers and people that we're on good, solid footing, and we're doing the right things with their dollars, and we're doing them in a way that makes sure that, as I like to say, you know, people, you've really got to do three things, and it sounds a little funny, but it's actually true. You have to plan and prepare for the future, and we all know that, for all the good things, right? But you have to safeguard for the future too, because global events can affect the economy. They can affect lots of things in lots of different ways, prices on commodities and other things. So you plan for the good stuff, but you also safeguard to make sure that if something does, and we've all seen it, right? With the housing crash before, recession, COVID, it's life, things happen. And we've weathered those storms very, very well and been able to keep ourselves on very sound financial footing. So that's, I mean, I think Jeremy covered a lot of the other things. I wanted to kind of give an overview of how we use the funds, how we get to the numbers that we're talking about, and how we then finally bring that budget together. I'd be happy to answer any, and Jeremy's here, any specific questions. If you saw something on the budget you'd like to ask specifically about, but I've tried to go over kind of the big things. And like I said, when you take away the personnel cost, there's not a whole lot, there's not a lot left there. But I hope you did look at, when you looked at the budget, you did realize that we really do go back to the beginning, do analysis story, because you see things that went up, you see things that went down, you see things that's at zero, and zero, then things that went up, and then things that went down. There's no just rubber stamping 4% here, 5%. Each line is looked at, historical data, new commodity prices, different things like that, and we come up with the number that we think is appropriate for the year. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you so much, Mayor. Questions from the council over the budget?
I just want to make a comment. Mr. Deal, I think that was probably one of the most detailed explanations I've ever seen on a budget. And I want to thank you and the mayor for your consideration in all of these matters. As the mayor stated, I know that you did go through each line the way it was supposed to be. And the other thing that I really appreciate is the fact that our greatest asset is our employees in the city of Lafayette. We have tremendous employees here. We want to keep them, and we also want to grow. I know it's been a tough job getting police and firemen, and we have to stay competitive in order to get good, solid employees here. So thank you for all your diligence and all your hard work in putting this budget together. You can show that it really was a lot of work.
Thank you.
Well, one question and I guess a statement after that. How are we doing as far as recruitment is concerned?
It's tough. I'll talk about that. I can answer it now. I'll talk about that a little bit more when we talk about the raise for the sworn personnel, if you're talking about police and fire.
Yes, sir.
And some of the other positions, it's kind of hit and miss. We'll have ones where maybe we get 20 people to apply, and then we have some where we get 120 people to apply. The good news is we are finding qualified people. It's a tough slog to get to them, but we are finding qualified people to take position, all different levels of positions within the city. It's not a fast process, and it takes a few tries sometimes, but we're getting there because we don't lower our standards.
Oh, and I wanted to add that I appreciate the efforts of you and your administration in order to make sure that the citizens of Lafayette get their money's worth as far as government is concerned. Because a lot of people figure that government is a place where you take your money to set it on fire. But that's not what we do here.
No, I hope over the
And I
last 20
appreciate-
years, we've proved that's not the case, so yeah. Thank you.
I'd also like to congratulate the mayor on his leadership for that medical trust and having 52 members now. I know you were leading that at the beginning, and there were some spooky years where we were talking about 15 to 20% raises, and that's really incredible that we've been able to keep those single digits over the last few years. So thank you for your early leadership on that.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor. Any comments from the audience over this ordinance? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, would you please conduct a roll call vote?
Blinker.
Aye.
Nardi. Aye. Snyder.
Aye.
Reynolds.
Aye.
Reese.
Aye.
Brown.
Aye.
Williamson. Aye. Downing. Aye. Ordinance passes 8-0.
Thanks. I'd just like to remind everyone that the public hearings over these budgets is scheduled for October 5th at 5 PM here in the council chambers.
Thursday.
This Thursday.
Next ordinance is ordinance 2023-46.
An ordinance fixing the salaries of the appointed officers and employees of the city of Lafayette, Indiana for the year 2024, excluding the sworn protective occupation and law enforcement members of the police and fire departments.
Mr. Klinker.
I move we hear ordinance 2023-46 on first reading.
Second.
Margie, thank you. Mr. Mayor.
Madam President, ladies and gentlemen of the council, before we go in, this is a 5% raise for civilians within the city of Lafayette, but before we go into that in any more depth, I'm going to do something a little bit different this year than I've done in the past. I'm going to have Amber Schaefer come up and speak. She is our Human Resources Director, and I want her to give you a little background on how we look at salaries and raises, how we look at if people ask to change classifications within a certain job category or within a certain department, how we look if we should approve those and bring them to you or not, how we look at new job descriptions, revamping old job descriptions, how we look out into the private sector and other government. I think that's important as you understand the budget and her and her staff working with the controller's office. And I know Jenna is not here tonight, but I want to certainly thank Jenna and the controller's office specifically too. It is incredibly time consuming and you don't end up seeing it because by the time we bring it, we've done hours and weeks of work and discovery to try to come to the right conclusion. Because quite frankly, some of the requests I say yes to and some of them I say no to. I mean, we follow the data, we follow the information, and sometimes it goes through and sometimes it doesn't. So I thought it might be helpful if she came up and gave a presentation, just give you a little bit of background, and then I'll go back to the raise itself.
Hello, Amber Schaefer, Human Resources Director. Excuse me. I'm going to speak very briefly to what the mayor had said. If you have any questions or if I need to slow down, just let me know. So as the mayor spoke, we really try to familiarize ourselves with our current practices, our current salary ordinance, all of the classifications that we're looking at when it comes to our employees in the positions. So before we begin the review for the next year, myself and my staff will look at all of our classifications, which is our COMAT, LTC, PAT, those types of positions. So those break down into specific classifications. So your PAT would be like a professional administrative technology position. Your LTCs are going to be your labor, trades, crafts. So we really try to make sure that everyone is classified correctly. That way everyone is being compensated fairly and appropriately. So once we've done that, we engage in interactive dialogue with our department heads regarding business needs and any changes for the upcoming year, such as changes in position functions. So essential functions of our jobs change daily. Everything is so fluid and everything is increasing and changing with technology, so we really have to make sure that we're up to date with that. We also review our job descriptions as well as title changes of existing positions, which is really important when marketing trying to get additional talent into the city. So once we've done that, we've gone through our interactive dialogue, we put together a proposed position or classification grade change for each of these positions. So we do that by doing internal salary studies, using data from comparable cities in population and size, recognizing that not all cities are going to have the same positions, the same number of employees, those types of things. So we really try to look at the economies of these cities as well and take all of that into effect. We also look at budgets. Not all cities operate with similar budgets, right? So we have to be a little realistic as well. We utilize credible resources such as the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics. We research data from the Employment Cost Index using the public sector information to gauge wage and benefit trends. That's time-consuming, extremely time-consuming. So we try to be current and relevant as well with all of that information. And then we will do an evaluation of current economic trends that are relevant to city job openings as well as our labor turnover. We also look at unemployment data and statistics, not just here in Lafayette, but surrounding communities as well. Once we've done that, we feel confident. We present our findings and recommendations to the mayor and the controller for deliberation. We have several long discussions regarding recommendations so that we're making responsible, effective changes for city operations, departments, and the citizens of Lafayette. The changes to our classification grades will allow us to concentrate on employee retention, talent acquisition, and laying the groundwork for continued organizational development and success through the investment in human capital. So training, leadership, and succession is huge and something that we really like to focus on. Because the workplace landscape and culture is more fluid than ever, language and terminology changes are also important. So when we throw in title changes, it's just to be more relevant, to be more modern. And that's something that's also going to help us attract the employees that we need to fill the positions. So that's all I have. Any questions?
Questions from council? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Amber. All right, well, I hope you've found that informative. It's, we put a lot of thought and work into the decisions that we make and what we actually present to you. I take a lot of pride in that by the time we get here, we're giving you good information, good data to work from, and that you can trust the time and effort and energy that's put into it to make sure that we are where we need to be. So this ordinance, 2023-46, is for civilians. We're proposing a 5% raise this year. We feel that's something that we can do, along with where the insurance cost with the increase will be minimal, and putting in the new benefit of having the clinic, which is again free of charge to all employees that are on our health care and their family members. So that's a nice benefit. So I would respectfully request your approval of this 5% raise for civilian employees.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Questions from council? Questions from the audience regarding this ordinance? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, Mr. Barbie?
Perry Barbie, 3700 Rosebud Avenue. I think 5% for the employees is great, especially with the time we had with the pandemic we just went through. I think 5% is a great job for them because they deserve probably a little bit more, but I know we can't do more. But I think 5% is great for them. Thanks, Mr. Mayor, for it.
Thanks, Barry.
Thank you, Mr. Barbie. Any other comment from the audience? Madam Clerk, would you please conduct a roll call vote?
Blinker.
Aye.
Nargi.
Aye.
Snyder.
Aye.
Reynolds.
Aye.
Weiss.
Aye.
Brown. Williamson. County.
Aye.
Ordinance passes 8-0.
Next ordinance for first reading is ordinance 2023-47.
An ordinance fixing the salaries of the sworn protective occupation and law enforcement poll members of the police and fire departments of the city of Lafayette, Indiana for the year 2024.
Mr. Snyder?
Madam President, I move we hear ordinance 2023-47.
Second.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor?
Madam President, ladies and gentlemen of the council, Perry, to get back to your question a little bit, to hit a little bit harder here, we are recommending an 8% raise for our sworn personnel, police and firefighters. We have looked at, there's a lot of information out in this area when it comes to looking at data on pensions and comparing longevity pay, seniority pay. There is a lot of different ways communities do this to get to the certified salary and/or other benefits depending on how many years you've served. So we sit down, the controller and I, and we've looked through a lot of data, and this is something that we can do, and we believe we need to do it to help us remain competitive and maybe even gain some ground. It is incredibly hard to recruit policemen across the country. I mean, that's a national trend. But we believe that with this raise, and I'll be looking at trying to do a pretty good one again next year, kind of looking at a 2-year plan here, that we can become more competitive and even make up some ground. And I feel that's what we need to do. We are not lowering our standards, and there are places around the country that I assure you have, and we are not doing that here. So we think this 8% raise is warranted. We can afford to do it. We also changed the longevity structure, and the FOP and the firefighters union all agreed to that. So we changed the longevity structure. So this would put the certified salary at 20 years at just slightly over $81,000 a year. So we feel this is a good first step. I will remind everyone that this is well above the contract that I actually negotiated with the FOP and the fire department. So, but it's something that we can do, we want to do, and we feel we should do. And so I would appreciate your support on this.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Comments or questions from council?
I just appreciate the fact that you went above and beyond with our sworn personnel. Because, you know, when the bell rings, there ain't no substitute for the fire department. You know, the last thing we want is, you know, somebody calls 911, you hear, your call is important.
We'll be with you in an hour.
Exactly.
Comments or questions from the audience over this ordinance?
Madam President, I'm
Yes.
sorry. How far down are we on police and fire right now?
We have a large fire recruit class right now.
Do we?
Yeah, so I think there's 14 or 15 people in it, so that'll probably keep them caught up to a few people retire. In the police department, we have slots for 152. We've never been at 152, even before all this. We just never got that high. But if we could get another 25 people, we would be thrilled. So we're advertising, we're doing all kinds of things, recruiting, trying to get folks to apply. We've got what we call a combine coming up in a week, maybe this weekend. We've got 20 people signed up for it, but the reality is we'd probably be lucky if we get 2 or 3 out of that.
That's the police department?
Yeah, most people just can't. Less and less people apply for jobs where you have to risk your life every day for somebody you don't know, right? I mean, that's what it is. And then, like I said, we're just not lowering our standards. You've got to pass the polygraphs, you've got to pass the physical fitness, you've got to pass the background checks and all the different things that we do. You've got to pass the written test, you've got to pass the captain's board. We don't do, well, if you pass 4 out of 6, you're on. You know, we don't do that. You either pass everything from beginning to end, or And then the 5 civilian merit board folks who make the final decision. It's 5 civilians that actually make the final decision and make the offer to the prospective candidate. And you've got to pass the pension board, the physical in Indianapolis, the psychological, well, we're doing those locally now, but the psychological exam that you have to pass. And like I said, it's not like, if you get past 7 out of 10, that's 70, we're going to take you. You've got to pass 10 out of 10 to get the job, and that's the way we're going to keep it.
I think it's important for the citizens to understand that it's not just, oh, we're going to flip a coin and take the next 3 people that are up on the list.
Yeah.
It's an extensive program, both for the fire and the police department, but particularly the police department, I know, gets an awful lot of scrutiny, and I'm very proud of our police officers and our firefighters in the city of Lafayette, and I want everybody to know that it is not just a willy-nilly case that you go through.
Right.
Thank you, Mayor.
I got a quick question, Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
This 8% raise, will that put the City of Lafayette Police Department on a better competitive level with other municipalities as far as their police forces?
When you look at getting to that 81,000 certified salary, it will make us more competitive. Now, it's not going to be ahead of Carmel.
Right.
And some places
Frankfurt's
like
and
that. Yeah,
other
but
places, yeah.
St. John, some smaller departments up north. I mean, a lot of it's kind of economy of scale too, right? But yes, I think it will, put us in. We did just get an officer that we swore in a few weeks ago from Kokomo that transferred over here and has already been through the academy and everything. So it'll get us better. I mean, I would not be surprised. I mean, I'd like to come back next year, probably in the 6 or 7 range, maybe. I think we need 2 years at get close to 14 or 15% over 2 years. And the controller's probably shaking over there that I'm talking about this ahead of time, but I've always been transparent. I mean, I've always told you what I thought, and I think that's probably what we need to do. We're hoping the clinic is another big piece. The building is a nice recruiting tool when people see the work environment.
And correct me if I'm wrong, with the state police department, they just gave the state police officers a pretty substantial raise.
Yes.
So that's
It
a
was-
threat to us,
it was,
potentially.
I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was a
up there,
large raise, right?
Mr. Deal may
thank
be
you.
using the clinic, Mayor.
Yeah, he will be.
I certainly will be.
Yeah. And we have done a lot of other things. We got the building, we're doing the pay, we're doing the clinic. We have a take-home car.
Combination of everything,
Take-home
isn't it?
car program and different things like that. So, I mean, there's really nothing that we're not doing.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Steve.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Any other comments or questions from the audience? Mr. Barbie?
Perry Barbie, 3700 Redbud Avenue. I would just got to publicly say, we got one of the best police department in the country, I think. We owe that to our chief, and our fire chief, I think it's the same thing, that we got the best we can get. So 8% to me, I think we should go to the moon, but 8%, I'm just taking pink with 8%. I think they deserve it. I just want publicly to say that.
Thank you, Mr. Barbie.
Thank you.
Any other comments from the audience? Madam Clerk, would you please conduct a roll call vote on ordinance 2023-47?
Blinker.
Aye.
Nargi. Aye. Snyder.
Aye.
Reynolds.
Aye.
Weiss.
Aye.
Brown.
Aye.
Williamson.
Aye.
Downing.
Aye.
Ordinance passes 8-0.
Thank you. Next ordinance for first reading is ordinance 2023-48.
An ordinance fixing the salaries of the elected officials of the city of Lafayette, Indiana for the year 2024.
Ms. Hession Weeks?
I move for consideration of ordinance 2023-48 on first reading.
Mr. Brown?
Second.
Mr. Mayor?
Madam President, ladies and gentlemen of the council, this one's just a little bit different this year. So we're recommending a 5% raise to the council in line with the civilian raise. That's certainly up to you, but that's what we're recommending for the council. That's what I've done every year. I've just kept it in line with the civilian raise, and then you can hash it out as you see fit. I am moving Cindy Murray, our city clerk, to an exec 2. That's something that probably should have been done a long time ago for all the work that she does in the community and all the extra work that she does. I researched that, and we're going to do that. I know several of you contacted Cindy and talked to the controller. For me, my raise, I want to thank you for your consideration. I respectfully turned down the number that they came up with because I don't feel comfortable with that. So thank you, but thank you very much. I'm going to, this proposes, if approved, is that I receive the same 8% that sworn personnel are receiving. But the other number that was presented to me, I felt was too high, and I won't accept that. So I'm not going to take something higher than anybody else in the city got. So that's in transparency, that's what this is, and it's up to you folks to hash through it as you see fit.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Comments or questions from council? Comments or questions from the audience over this ordinance? All right, Madam Clerk, would you please conduct a roll call vote on ordinance 2023-48?
Blinker.
Aye.
Nargi. Aye. Snyder.
Aye.
Reynolds.
Aye.
Weiss.
Aye.
Brown.
Aye.
Williamson.
Aye.
Downing.
Aye.
Ordinance passes 8-0.
Thank you. Next ordinance for first reading is ordinance 2023-49.
An ordinance for an additional appropriation for the general fund number 1010.
Mrs. Williamson?
I move we hear and approve ordinance number 2023-49.
Second.
Thank you. Mr. Deal?
Good evening, Madam President, members of council. You have before you an additional appropriation request for the general fund. This is $175,000 requested to be added to the overtime line in the fire department. Last year, we had more than anticipated departures from the fire department. A lot of new recruits come on, and in the course of their training, they're not yet prepared to serve actually on the trucks. So we have to have existing qualified firemen work a little more hours. So that's needed this year. I want to also add that this money is not a direct city levy. It's not a tax levy on the city. We have standing agreements with Fairfield Township and with Perry Township to provide fire service out there. This is an appropriation of monies received from the townships and their fire rate.
Very good.
So I respectfully ask that we amend the fire department's budget by this $175,000 amount.
Thank you, Mr. Deal. Comments or questions from the council?
I had a quick question. Do you anticipate the need for this next year as well, or is that yet to be seen?
I don't think so.
Okay.
We actually, the fire department had a lower request for their overtime line for the 2024 budget. I'm hoping that we're at a full staff level that will allow us to expend less on overtime.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions from council? Comments or questions from the audience? Thank you, Mr. Deal. Madam Clerk, would you please conduct a roll call vote on ordinance 2023-49?
Blinker.
Aye.
Nargi. Aye. Snyder.
Aye.
Reynolds.
Aye.
Weiss.
Aye.
Brown.
Aye.
Williamson.
Aye.
Downing.
Aye.
Ordinance passes 8-0.
Thank you. A public hearing needs to be set for this ordinance on November 6th at 6:01 PM. Entertain a motion for that, Mr. Klinker.
So moved.
Mrs. Nargi?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. On to ordinance 2023-50.
An ordinance amending certain sections within Title 10, Animals, including amending Section 10.0.3.050 concerning animal establishments and adding the new Section 10.03.060 concerning commercial sales of dogs and cats.
The petitioner has requested this ordinance be tabled to the November 6th meeting. I'll entertain a motion for that, Mr. Snyder.
So moved.
Mr. Reynolds?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ordinance is tabled. On to ordinance 2023-51.
An ordinance to amend the zoning ordinance of Tippecanoe County, Indiana to rezone certain real estate from R1U to R2U, 2101 Monon Avenue. Aaron Walker petitioning.
Ms. Hession-Weiss?
I move for consideration of ordinance number 2023-51 on first reading.
Mr. Brown?
Second.
Good evening, Brad Neely with Riling, Teeter and Charm here for the petitioner Aaron Walker. Petitioner owns 2 lots of property, both fronting Monon Avenue. The southwest lot actually contains a detached garage as well as a single-family dwelling. That single-family dwelling is over 100 years old, and it currently sits over that property line between the two. The northwest lot, currently vacant, so it's not much of a problem now, but if it were ever to sell, it could become an issue then. Surrounding property is mostly residential property except for the western property, which is a church. Petitioner intends to rearrange the lots so that they're both facing North 21st Street. They intend to place a duplex on the lot that's currently got the detached garage. So this will remove the issue of the dwelling overlapping into both lots. It'll also provide for full use of both of those lots, additional housing. Property is currently zoned R1U. Petitioner is requesting rezone to R2U to permit single-family as well as that duplex. R2U is appropriate for the location. There's similar R2U properties to the northwest, just about like 2 blocks from this property. Again, permitting this rezone would allow for full use of the properties, allow for revitalization, and contribute additional housing to the area. So we have a positive recommendation for APC. Respectfully request your approval and happy to answer any questions.
Comments or questions from council?
Just one question, sir. The garage.
Yes.
I think there was some back and forth about the garage, whether or not it was going to be torn down as part of this project.
Yeah, so initially I thought that it was going to be torn down. I think there's some discussion whether they're going to try to build on top of it or build behind it, that duplex. I believe at this time, I think the plan is to build behind that garage, not destroy the garage entirely so that we still have that parking available.
Any other comments or questions from council? Thank you, sir. Comments from the audience over this ordinance? Madam Clerk, would you please conduct a roll call vote?
Blinker.
Aye.
Nargi. Aye. Snyder.
Aye.
Reynolds.
Aye.
Weiss. Aye. Brown.
Aye.
Williamson.
Aye.
Downing.
Aye.
Ordinance passes 8-0.
Thank you.
Madam
Ordinance
President,
2023-52.
can I be excused?
Let me go ahead.
Yeah.
An ordinance to amend the zoning ordinance of Tippecanoe County, Indiana to rezone certain real estate from R2U to PDRS Scott Street across from Columbian Park between Sheridan and Sherman Street, Hay Bay East Group LLC, Parkside Flats, PD.
Mr. Clinker?
Move we hear ordinance 2023-53 on first reading.
52.
Oh, did I?
You're in a hurry, aren't you?
Yeah, 52, sorry.
Your eyes
I
are
was on the wrong.
Second.
Thank you, Madam President. Ladies and gentlemen of the council, my name is Chris Shellman of Gutwein Law here on behalf of the petitioner. What is being presented today is a planned development that has been months in the making. Certainly want to thank Dennis Carson, John Collier, Ryan O'Gara, the Area Plan Commission, City Engineer, and Fire, in helping come up with a unique design to add to the Columbian Park neighborhood. Obviously, the city made significant investment in the redevelopment or the rehab of Columbian Park, and this project would be right alongside of it. It is to take 5 existing lots and build 5 single 4-unit homes. The unique facet of this project is that the homes are designed to appear to be traditional 2-story craftsman bungalows from the street. So as you're walking down the street, they have a very pedestrian-friendly approach, and while it does have a little extra density, it is designed so that it would not appear any different than the other craftsman-era homes in the community. Being a planned development, the finishes and even the colors in this case are subject to approval of the city engineer's office. The goal would be to maintain craftsman color palette and continue that historic feel. While the developer's intent is to retain ownership at this time, one facet is that they will be on individual lots and they are all under 4 units, which would allow them to potentially be in single-family ownership. They would qualify for a traditional mortgage being under 4 units. So it does create some flexibility for the future. Petitioner has multiple properties within the area and has already redeveloped 1 site in that neighborhood.
and is looking forward to furthering their investment in this community. We'd be happy to answer any questions, and this project comes with a unanimous recommendation of approval from the APC. But respectfully request approval. Thank you.
Comments or questions from council? Thank you, sir. Comments or questions from the audience over this ordinance?
Hello, I'm Dan Bullock, and I live at 12 North 28th Street. So a little bit of history. My dad grew up in Columbian Park neighborhood. I grew up in Columbian Park neighborhood, and now I'm raising my family in the same neighborhood. It's a family neighborhood. We've got a new apartment building over between Ferry and Cason Street. Several hundred units have been added there. It's called Murdoch Manors. Perhaps you've seen it. They did have to tear down probably 5 houses there, but most of the property was that of the home hospital. And now there's a new big apartment building going up at the corner of 26th Street and South Street. That also was former home hospital property. This particular property that they're wanting to do, it's actually 6 or 5 houses on a block with all houses around it. About a year ago, I walk around Columbian Park all the time. I actually used to work there. My daughter works there now too. So about a year ago, I was walking by there and was shocked to see that they had torn down one of the nice older houses and built a monstrosity there on the corner. For one, and this is the same company from Hawaii, the new house has been turned at a 90-degree angle where the entrance is not on Scott Street like all the other houses are. Also, the windows are, some of the windows are single pane windows, not double hung like the other houses. It's got a low slanted roof in it. It does not fit in at all. And their proposal for these new houses says similar architecture to the house we built earlier. These new buildings, they're fourplex apartment buildings is what they are. They're not houses. Nobody's gonna look at them and say, that's a house, that's a bungalow. It's not. If you look at the architectural drawings on the sides of the buildings, looks like there's 4 windows on each side, 1 on each apartment building. It's pretty pathetic, if you ask me. So, I think it's kind of a quality of neighborhood issue. You're gonna be adding a lot more density to the area. Right now, the park is, to me, a crown jewel to the neighborhood, to the city, really. And you guys have invested millions of dollars into it. And now you're gonna let them tear down some houses and build these ugly, apartment buildings right across the street from it. I just think it's a shame. So a couple of things, I could look at property value. Are these buildings gonna lower my property value? And truthfully, I did some research, and property values can go up and down for homeowners when apartment buildings are put in. And the main factor is whether the buildings are attractive and fit in with the neighborhood. So to me, these are not attractive, they do not fit in, the property values will probably go down. I just, obviously I'm against this. There's other people in the neighborhood. I don't know if anybody else came out against it, but it's gonna be a real shame if they tear down these places so that these landlords from Hawaii who are not anywhere near where these are being built, and, they may care about what it looks like, but if they're 4,000 miles away, I don't know. So it's a shame that the city would allow this to be done, so. Thank you very much for your time. Any questions for me? All right.
Any other comments or questions from the audience over this ordinance?
I would wonder if the petitioner would want to address any of the single pane windows or some of the construction concerns that Mr. Bullock has.
Briefly, sure, Mr. Klinker. The construction, this project that we talked about is a plan development. The city engineer's office
We'll have final say over all materials, including colors, and that would include the windows. We've worked hand in hand on the design to ensure a craftsman style that does appear to be 2 stories, what is 2 stories, but keep a residential, entrance without going too much into the existing product. The homes that are there right now are, have a little bit to be that are lacking. They need some significant repair and upgrades, and most of those homes are already not single-family homes. They're converted duplexes, and I believe the one on the end has at least 2, maybe 3 units in them. So it's a hodgepodge of some small, older homes that need to be redeveloped. The craftsmanship, the constructor is Northfleet Builders, and so a local company who's going to be building it and has good rapport with the city. So I anticipate that the product that you're going to receive is consistent with the neighborhood. That's been our goal from the beginning through the months of working with the city, the APC, and the area partners. So I would submit that it will, in fact, be consistent and be developed, as you know, with the plan development, consistent with the plans.
Thank you.
I would tend to agree. I drove past there. There's one smaller building that it's in better shape, but 4 out of the 5 don't look very well, and they need lots of improvement. So in my opinion, the ones that are going to go in will probably add value to the neighborhood. That's just what I feel.
I would agree. I would also note that the, whether you like or don't like the existing home that was built, the one that the petitioners already built, that was built by right, without the benefit of the plan development process. So while the materials are high quality and the finishes are strong and the rents are strong for that building, it was not built in this craftsman style that was intended to look like a single-family residence. That looks like a duplex. These were
will
built
be
differently.
different?
Correct.
They'll look more like the neighborhood.
Exactly like the plans.
Can't
are
tell
in the
much
plan
from
development.
those.
Sorry, but
I'm
there'll
not
be
very
a,
smart when it comes to that
there'll-
stuff, but.
That was my problem. I was hoping you guys had
Yeah.
better picture,
So
more
they're-
representative drawings of this thing.
single family, only one entrance onto the street, all the others enter from the side of the property with windows and a window upstairs facing out.
Material
With a porch
makeup.
overhang. A hardy board siding and masonry, cultured masonry where needed, but hardy board predominantly to fit with the craftsman style.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions from council? Any other comments or questions from the audience? Madam Clerk, would you please conduct a roll call vote over ordinance 2023-52?
Blinker.
Aye.
Nargi.
Aye.
Snyder.
Aye.
Weiss.
Aye.
Brown.
Aye.
Williamson.
Aye.
Downey.
Aye.
Ordinance passes 7-0.
The final ordinance for first reading this evening is ordinance 2023-53.
An ordinance to amend the zoning ordinance of Tippecanoe County, Indiana, to rezone certain real estate from R1 to I3 Crossroad Engineers PC.
The petitioner has requested that this ordinance be tabled to the November 6th council meeting. I'll entertain the motion for tabling. Mr. Snyder?
So moved.
Ms. Hession-Weiss?
Second?
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ordinance is tabled to the November 6th meeting.
Got 2 tables.
On to resolutions this evening. We begin with Resolution 2023-24.
A resolution approving a deduction for tax abatement in an economic revitalization area, Ray Maguire Company Incorporated personal property.
Mr. Brown?
Madam President, I move that we hear Resolution 2023-24 on first reading.
Mrs. Woodson? Mr. Mayor?
Madam President, ladies and gentlemen of the council, thank you. We have before you a resolution for a tax abatement for Ray Maguire. We are very excited about this. I had an opportunity to go out to the plant myself and do some, I hadn't been out for a while, and walk through with some of their leadership team to look at what they're planning on doing and what they're hoping to accomplish. This investment is substantial. It's a $37 million dollar investment. It retains 167 jobs and creates 71 new jobs. If you looked at the state mandated forms, they are very good paying jobs. And I think without going into depth, I don't want to steal their thunder. I think what's neat is this is another, for them, going more into the electric vehicle arena and a piece of that overall industry. And so it's very exciting for our community. As you know, Ray Magna has been a longtime member of our economic landscape and a good corporate partner. And so we're certainly looking forward to this new investment. With that, I'd introduce Ben Fowles, who is the Vice President for Finance, and David Worthen, who is the Vice President for North American Operations, to come up and give you a little bit more detail about the actual project.
Thank you. All right, Madam President, members of the committee. I'm the Vice President of Operations for Ray Magnet Wire North America. So I'm going to give you a little bit of an overview of the project that we have going on. We're very excited about it. So this is part of two phases that we have currently for going into electric vehicles. We have one phase that is on another facility, and we chose the Lafayette facility for our second phase. So this is to expand our current facility 32,000 square feet in order to accommodate 400-volt stator production for most of the EV production in General Motors, Ford, those kind of arenas. This equipment that we're going to install inside this 32,000 square feet also will have the ability to be converted to 800-volt in the future if we go to longer longevity battery production. As mentioned, 71 employees will be the increase of the headcount for the facility, as well as retaining the current 167 that we have on staff. Hopefully in the future we can expand again. So we have plenty of property at our current location for that. This will be our first step into this. The equipment is 40 brand-new enameling ovens, which is quite significant for us, and one new high-capacity rod machine. And to your point about the investment, $34 million is actually about half of what this is going to cost us, so it will be significantly more with the current plan that we have. And the last note I'll leave you with is the general contractor for the building will be Kettle Hut, a local company. So they're going to do the general contracting for the building expansion itself. And then Ben Fowles is the VP of Finance if you have any questions on finance.
Comments or questions from council?
I got a quick question, just on the construction timeline. You get a rough ballpark when you're going to be breaking ground and moving forward?
Our plan is to break ground for the slab in November of this year, and then completion of the project for the building itself is set for the end of July next year.
That's 31,000 square feet, plus or minus, structure,
Yep.
standalone?
Yep. Yes. Well, it'll be attached to the current.
It'll be attached to the current.
There's a
okay.
3-foot easement between the two buildings, but we'll
Got it.
enclose that because we need the positive pressure for the automotive production.
Thank you.
How soon do you think you'll be in production?
We plan to be in production with our first set of lines by November of next year. So, yeah, we're ready to go.
Thank you for your investment.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions from council? Mr. Clinker?
I'd like to thank Ray Magnet. In the past, I know when times have been a little tougher and you've consolidated, you've chosen Lafayette in the past, so I appreciate your confidence to bring this project
Absolutely.
to Lafayette on this one, too. Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Yep.
Comments or questions from the audience over this ordinance? Thank you, gentlemen.
Yep.
Madam Clerk, or resolution, excuse me. Madam Clerk, would you please conduct a roll
It's
call vote
contagious.
on
I've been doing it
resolution
all night.
2023-24?
Clinker.
Aye.
Nardi. Aye. Snyder.
Aye.
Lees.
Aye.
Brown.
Aye.
Williamson. Aye. Downing. Aye. So the resolution passes 7-0.
Uh-oh, I gave it to you.
I know, we've been doing a lot of them.
Next up is resolution 2023-25.
A resolution approving a deduction for tax abatement and economic revitalization area real estate Ray Magnet Wire.
Mr. Downing?
I move to hear resolution 2023-25.
Mr. Clinker?
Second.
Mr. Mayor?
Madam President, ladies and gentlemen of the council, again, this is for the first one was for the personal property. This is for the real estate abatement, same project, just because, I think you all know that our wages are very important to me. So the average wage from the form's been filled out is about $29.15 an hour. So good wages, certainly well above the county manufacturing average, and that's always important to me here in the community as we're looking at this. So again, a great group of people out there, great leadership team with the two gentlemen that you just met, general contractors, a local kettle hut company, and that's what we're looking for. So we would appreciate your approval on this abatement also.
Thank you. Comments or questions from council? Members of the audience? Madam Clerk, would you please conduct a roll call vote?
Blinker.
Aye.
Nargi. Aye. Snyder.
Aye.
Weiss.
Aye.
Brown.
Aye.
Williamson.
Aye.
Downey.
Aye.
Resolution passes 7-0.
Our final resolution of the evening is Resolution 2023-26.
A resolution of the Lafayette Common Council approving the City of Lafayette vision and mission statement.
Mrs. Nargi?
I move we hear Resolution 2023-26.
Mr. Snyder?
Second.
Thank you. Greetings.
Good evening. David Hunke, Director of Communications and Marketing for the city. Madam President and ladies and gentlemen of the council, before the council is a mission and vision statement for the city of Lafayette that was written by a committee of 7 employees representing 6 different departments. The statements are to provide a purpose and identity for the city as a guide for decision-making among the employees and our stakeholders. These statements were presented to the mayor and department heads for review, and what you have before you are the finished statements for approval.
Comments or questions from council? Thank you.
Thank you.
Comments or questions from the audience? Madam Clerk, would you please conduct a roll call vote on Resolution 2023-26?
Blinker.
Aye.
Nargi. Aye. Snyder.
Aye.
Weiss.
Aye.
Brown.
Aye.
Williamson. Aye. Downey.
Aye.
Resolution passes 7-0.
Okay, reports of standing committees this evening. Reports of special committees. Reports by the mayor.
Give him a second.
Any other reports tonight, Mr. Mayor?
Nope.
Okay. Any reports of council people? Mr. Reynolds had to leave, but he did want me to mention the public viewing of the fire prevention show. I was trying to look up the date here really quick. I don't remember what the date is.
Wednesday.
Wednesday.
It's Sunnyside.
At Sunnyside at 7?
Six.
6, okay.
It's a 25-year anniversary.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Our firefighters voluntarily do this fantastic job teaching all of the kids within the county, to be fire safe, I guess.
Stop, drop, and roll.
So the kids often go on a field trip to the location to watch during school hours, but if you'd like to take your whole family, we encourage you to go Wednesday evening, Sunnyside Auditorium, 6 p.m. Any other reports from council people? Okay, we're going to open up the floor for public comment this evening. Please remember to state your name and address and keep your remarks to 3 minutes. Any public comments? All right, seeing none, Mr. Clinker?
Move for adjournment.
Mrs. Nargi? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned.
Thank you, Madam President.
Something for probably connecting together.
I'm only partial.